Alright, welcome everybody to the first episode of Banished. We're going to be playing a mod pack today. It's part of the Colonial Charter series by Black Liquid. It's the new release that came out a couple of weeks ago. It's the New Frontier expansion pack. They have quite a bit of new content in the new one. Every patch they release an amazing amount of content. Right now they have just absurd amount of new buildings and resources, and they've made a lot of tweaks to balance that look really good. So we're going to be playing CC New Frontier. You can find that by going into the mods list, going to Browse Workshop, and just type in Frontier and enter, and it will show up here. So go ahead and get this installed. I do have a couple other ones in here. I use all professions because I like to have a list of all the professions. The profession list grew about four or five times bigger than the previous version, so it's nice to have. And then I have big horny animals. I don't like the mechanic where entire pastures can die off due to disease and things like that, so to combat that I just use big horny animals. And that's about it. So we're going to start on Verdant Plains. Terrain size we'll do small. Climate will be very mild, and disasters off, and starting conditions we're going to be doing native village hard. So Verdant Plains is very similar to Flat Plains, except I like the color quite a bit better. It's more kind of a greenish yellow color instead of a bleak greenish gray. And I think it's a little bit flatter as well, so you get a little bit more space, especially on a small size map. Climate we're doing very mild because we are on a small map, and I typically prefer having a more regular crop rotation. The mild, fair, and harsh, the mild's not so bad. It's what I played before, but sometimes you would get those really short winters, and it would just end up messing up your town, and that's not good content. So the no snow ones can be a little bit tricky too. If your crops carry over to the next year, it can prevent them from getting planted, so I don't typically play those either. So for the best content, best video, best gameplay, I like very mild. Disasters off because really there's no point in having your village destroyed. it's just creating more work for you, and it doesn't really negatively affect your ability to survive. It just is annoying. Native Village Hard is the new version that's out, so New Frontier, Native Village. You will start out with a couple of native buildings, some longhouses and things like that. New Frontier is kind of interesting. It gives you a little fort, like a little walled-in fort. The rest of these are pretty much just using different types of wood. So they have added a whole bunch of new trees and tropical trees and hardwood trees and things like that. So if you like a particular style of tree, those are what you can use. Of course, the Golden Llama is very, very, very similar. The real only difference is it replaces the ceremonial grounds with a Golden Llama. And in Native Village, you get a couple of native buildings, which I honestly just get rid of right away. So, as horrible as that sounds. So we'll be starting at Native Village, and I already do have a seed picked out. I tried a couple maps, but they were unfortunately just not that great of maps. About 50% of them were lakes and rivers, and they just weren't laid out for good content. So the map we're going to be starting with is 377540168. And then make sure you have all of these, the terrain type and the terrain size, set to Verdant Plains is small for this map seed to work. Alright, and there we go. Alright, so we're just going to load into our map here. And first thing I do when we play in hard difficulty is I always pause it. So let's get our game set up here. I do all three of these. And then this is something that you get with that other professions mod that I use. You just have the ability to pick some different sized profession panes. It just makes it a little bit easier to kind of control your game and see what's going on. Alright, so I'm going to get this set up a little bit here. And there we go. So this is usually how I play. Eventually, I might replace this with the Town Hall, I'm not sure. I actually enjoy having this up just for my worker management, especially right at the beginning when you really have to worry about your laborers. I'm going to assume that the majority of watchers have probably played some sort of an expansion like this, but for the people that haven't, I'm going to go a little bit slower and just kind of explain a couple of things. In the Colonial Charter expansion packs, they add all sorts of resources and buildings and all kinds of things. I think it's on the order of quadrupled or even quintupled the amount of content in the game, so it's quite expansive. First thing we need to decide on is what kind of house we want. We have everything from a tiny shack all the way up to a large residence that requires glass and bricks and all kinds of expensive things. There is also a modular housing here. So this is a house, it's 3 houses stacked on top of each other into kind of one building. It is a little bit more expensive and it doesn't really save you a whole lot of space, but we may use them in the future just to have a little bit of variety in our housing. So what I'm actually going to use is a log cabin. It uses a little bit more log than the wooden house, but it has higher warmth. And warmth is something that we will need to be careful on when we're starting out with this difficulty, because we won't have the woodcutter right away. Now for a bridge, I actually want to build a bridge right away just so we can start using these resources and build some gathering huts over there. We do have a couple more bridge options. I usually use the drawbridge. It's 5 wood lengths instead of using up your more valuable stone and brick and things like that. You can use the creek plank bridge. It's 1 per length, but it's not really designed to be used across a river. If you're low on resources or you just want to put in a temporary bridge until you can afford a more expensive one, that's fine, but I don't like to be cheaty like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do it legit here. I just had to find my house again. Alright, so we'll put a drawbridge in there. And then when we get up here, we can actually put in one of the creek planks. So I don't have any problem with that. That's going to be a little long. What's this, 9? We'll do 9. Alright. So we've got our housing, we've got a bridge so we can get to more resources. We need some food. So there's all kinds of different food options here now. There's beekeepers and tidal pools for shells, duck hunting blinds, wharf and ship, all kinds of things. But really, to start out, we just want to go something really basic. So hunting cabin is a great option because it gives you food and it gives you valuable leather that you can use for trading or you can use for textiles. So we'll do a hunting cabin, and then I'm also going to do a gathering hut. Alright, so I drag usually my hunting cabin off into the corner up here just so I can see where this outline is, so I can see where I can start clearing resources. Alright, so we have 1 house. I'll need to build just a couple more here. Line it up with the other house here. Alright. And I'm just going to pause all of these. Alright, so we'll need 3 houses at first. It probably won't be enough for our population growth, but it will at least get them housed so that they're not yelling at me or dying off on me. So, alright, and that should pretty much do it. So we have all of the items that we need. All we need now is some resources. So I'm going to do pretty broad clear. Right here it's stone and iron. So it'll take both those resources without touching the woods. And then I'm going to do a full resource remove anywhere outside of that yellow ring, just so that I can get a couple of trees going. And we'll go in here. We do have another stockpile option, so you can just do wood, just iron, just fuel, just materials and things like that. So you can put just a iron stockpile next to your mine, or just your stone next to a quarry, so that it doesn't get filled up with other resources. But for now, we'll just use the plain old basic stockpile. Now these settlements, I don't really like these. When you do turn them into a longhouse or in what else we have here? So we have a wigwam house and storage. The storage doesn't really hold all that much. It holds about the same as one of these little small barns here, and it's pretty expensive. You have to find 2 muskets and then 25 arrow fletchings. So usually what I do with these early game is, if you just select something to turn them into, it will start to demo them. It'll turn them into one of these squares, and then you can just get rid of them. When you want to build them in the future, you can always go in here and just rebuild your native buildings. So it's not a big loss. This one you want to make sure that you definitely keep. We'll get a little more into that a little bit later. Alright, so let's go ahead and start our gameplay here. First thing we definitely want to do is get some food going. We only have 1,200 food. They can stand to be without a house for a little while. Usually you can get your gathering hut or your hunting cabin up and running before they kind of freeze to death. So it's a little bit tricky. Everybody has their own little idea of how they want to do it, but that's how I do it. So I tend to make these little stockpiles everywhere. It allows them to clear room for these buildings really quickly without having to do too much walking. So, like they're doing right now, they're doing a lot of walking to get back there to get some food and things like that, which is unfortunate, but not much we can do about that. Alright, so looks like we need to gather some more trees. They need to start clearing those. Okay. And then we'll get them started on their housing now that they have this built. We'll increase our builders so we can get the hunting cabin in place. Still got 1,000 food, so we're doing pretty good yet. And we'll start this one up. Give it priority for them. Alright, so looks like they're doing pretty good. So we almost have our hunting cabin built. We still have 800 food, which is pretty good. We have one house built, 2 houses built, and then the third one is on its way. I will unpause that. I'm going to remove structure so we can get rid of, if you look up here, there's a kind of a bonfire and a totem pole. Just get rid of those 2. Yep, so we have 3 houses and we still have 4 people that don't have houses, so we do need that 4th log cabin. Alright, so we'll get our 3 hunters going. Eventually we'll get our gatherers going. And it looks like we're out of logs again. Alright, so while they're building that, I'm actually going to get started on some of the woodcutters. So the wood cutting is under the refined resources, and it is right here. So there's the wood cutter, and there's the chopper. The chopper is a smaller version. It only has 1 employee. It'll do fine for us for now. So I'm just going to kind of put one right there. Don't really have to worry about it too much. Alright, so now I'm going to remove these structures, and we can actually claim some of the leather and wood that they were made out of. Looks like this one's almost done too. Alright, so we got some free wood and leather out of it. It's a pretty good deal. And like I said, those structures don't do a whole lot of good. Kind of early game, they're pretty expensive and materials that you can't really get right away. So we'll go ahead and build them later. We'll give the Native Americans just a little bit of room on our map here. Alright. So our gatherer hut is complete. I want to make sure that I have 1 laborer left over just in case anybody dies. However, I wish they would complete construction on this. They did the bridge first for some reason. Alright, that should house everybody then. Get that one unpaused. Alright. So we will start on a small barn. We're going to put it just on the outside of the radius of this area. We don't actually want to take up any of the resources with the footprint of this. Alright. So it looks like our chopper's almost done. We just need to get it built. Increase priority on it. Our food is okay. It looks like. Yeah, this was pretty late in the season, so the production value isn't all that amazing. Okay, so since we don't have anything that we really absolutely need to get built, I'll go ahead and reposition one of those for farmer, or for the chopper. Let's do a resource clear again. And then I'll clean this area up a little bit. Alright. So let's go ahead and increase our food limit, and we're going to increase our fuel limit so that we don't run out of either of those if there's a harsh winter coming, or if we just expand too fast. So looks like we have a handle on food. We have a little bit of a stockpile yet. Could use a little bit more fuel. Should be nice, but it looks like they're kind of rotating through and getting fuel taken care of. Alright, so what else do we have here? Alright, so fuel is building slightly. And he's out of trees, unfortunately. I have 2 laborers, so I'm not entirely sure why they're out of trees. Alright, so next thing that we need to do is tools and clothing. I believe tools are under here, smithing and crafting. It will be the blacksmith. Now, right up here is a little bit of a mountain. So what I'm actually going to do is make sure that I have a mine up here. It's not going to let me place that. Let's see if I can get somebody to remove that. Sometimes the blocks and stones and things will block the path of buildings, and once you cleared this, sometimes it will let the terrain kind of slope naturally. So we'll just wait for them to clear that. Try it again, and there we go. So now it will let us. And I'm going to pause this because that's a lot of resources that we don't really have right now. But I just want to make room for it because I want to put our blacksmith right up here. So our blacksmith is right next to our mine so that when they get coal and iron, they just use it right away. Alright, go ahead and make a couple of roads up here. I think I'll have to move that at some point. It's in an inopportune location. But it's fine where it is now. We're going to end up making a stack burner. It's a much more efficient version of the chopper and the woodcutter. So that's what we're going to be using for fuel going forward. Alright, so we have a little buffer of food, a little buffer of fuel. We have a little bit of tools and a little bit of clothing. So we have to work on clothing next. Clothing is going to be in fabrics. It's going to be the same tailor that everybody knows and loves. There's a little bit of a difference with the tailor. You can start off with some extra items, and then you can actually upgrade your tailor into a textile mill or something like that, where you can get some combination fabrics. So instead of just using wool or leather, you can actually use cotton to make cloth. You can have silk, you can have linen, and then combinations of those to make different kinds of garments. Alright, So once our house is built, hopefully they will start working on I think I want clothing first. I think that would be probably a good choice. Alright, so it looks like we have plenty of laborers. Let's go ahead and increase our food production here. We've got 3 there. We've got 4 on the gatherers. And then besides these 2 buildings, we also want to make a stack burner, like I said. And I believe that's in here, so it's a stack burner. Yep, so we need 48 stone, 28 iron, and 40 clay. That last icon is clay. The other version of this building is the brick maker, which is right here. So we need 80 stone, 40 iron, and 60 sand. So I'm debating if we just want to go right into the brick maker. I think we do. Alright, now the brick maker needs sand to be able to produce his items. So I'll put the brick works here. And then we will do a shore house. So the shore house will get a couple of materials like sand and clay, and they can also get food and some other items. And not really a lot of good you can do here. Alright, so pause those, save those for later. And now that we have the tailor, yep, so we can do a clothier, but we need rope for that, and for rope we need hemp or flax, I believe. So it's a new resource that you can turn in, or you can get these from traders too. All the materials in the game you can get from the traders if you either can't or don't know how to get those materials. Alright, so we'll do one of those, and here is all of the items we can get. So crude shirt, you can do reeds and feathers. Feathers come from chickens, or I believe you can also get them through the burial grounds here. And then reeds come from the shore house. Linen and cloth we don't have the ability to do yet because we don't have any fields with those kinds of grains. And then pouch is for something else. You can actually get you can get a precious mine. So right in here there's a precious mine where you can get gold, silver, and gemstones, and then you can turn those into jewelry and then use the leather pouch to sell those items in the black market. It's pretty complicated. It's not really something that I do. It's extremely expensive to convert these precious materials into those kinds of goods. So the gold and silver, you just need absurd amounts of gold and silver to be able to trade for something very, very basic. So it's not exactly something that I usually do, but we might be able to do it a little bit later just for funsies. Alright, how are we doing here? Not too bad. Looks like we need some more stone. I'm actually going to put a stockpile right there so they can collect that stone, put it there, and then bring it right in. And we're out of leather for some reason. Well, we do have 12 coats though, so I think we should be good. And now we play the waiting game. We have plenty of iron, so we don't need the mine quite yet, but we should probably lay out a position for our quarry. So there is a new smaller quarry. It just has less workers and things like that, so I honestly never do the max quarry. The quarry can go up to 30 workers. I've never had 30 workers at one quarry, so we'll just go for the small quarry. It's quite a bit more compact, and it's a lot easier to work with. We can actually just put it right here. I'm never going to get rid of this burial ground. You can get a really, really important resource out of this burial ground, so I don't want to touch it at all. So I don't mind if we block it off just a little bit. It's a pretty big piece of territory right in the middle of our town, but not much else we can put there, and there's not really any good place to put it. You know, we could put it over here, but then it's quite a bit of a walk. Eventually, when we expand it out and we make kind of a suburb area, then we can put more quarries up around the edges of the map. I'm gonna let that one go. We need 40 iron, we have 90, so I don't think we'll be hurting on the resources on that. So we have 2 builders, we do have 2 spare laborers, we still have 4, 1, 1, and 3 hunters, so it looks like all of our labor is good to go. That's one of the nice things about this larger pane. It just allows you to keep track and make sure that you do have enough laborers for all of your positions. Last thing you want is to have all your laborers die due to old age, and then suddenly you don't have anybody gathering food. So we're still good, everybody is in their 20s. But eventually, once they get up into about their 60s, there's going to be kind of a mass die-off that's really going to hurt us for a little while. So we want to make sure that we have a good supply of workers to take over for them while we make that transition into the younger generation. Alright, so we're doing pretty good. Looks like we just need a little bit more stone, and we can get the blacksmith going. Don't have any tools, and our tools are starting to break, which is kind of a bummer because they're going to work at about half speed. And a half speed worker that's uneducated is a pretty slow worker. Alright, that one needs more logs, and it looks like we're out of logs. No, there's some that they need to pick up yet, so we should be okay. I do not want to start getting into these woods until I figure out where I want to put our hunting cabin. I eventually want to get rid of this so that we don't have, again, a forest coming into our town here. So what I might do is one here, and then we could do one here. I think that would use our land pretty wisely. Let's do that. And I'll pause that. And we might as well put this one up here. So this one, and then we'll put it there. Where'd it go? There it is. Alright, so we've got our layout pretty good. We've got our blacksmith, again, plenty of workers, so we should be all good there. We do need some sort of a barn over here. Got a couple of different options here. I think for tools, the only option we have are the barns. Yeah. So some of these barns, dry storage can store flax, leather, wool, cloth, linens. Grain silo can do grains. Root cellar can do fruits and vegetables and roots. Meat locker does meat. Bank barn is a huge option. It's a huge upgrade, but it requires some sort of a hill to be built into. So as you can see, we can't build it on flat land here. It has to be put up here on some sort of a hill in back. But doesn't look like there's too many options for us in this area. Looks like we may not be able to use this particular item too effectively until we kind of start building up into this area. So we'll just create a good old-fashioned barn. Where do I want to put this? So that's going to conflict with that. We'll put it here. So then we can just run our road right down the middle there. And we can get to our brickworks. Alright, we got a pretty good civilization going here. So we started out with 8 adults, we have 16 now. And it looks like we haven't had anybody die off from starvation or freezing or anything like that, which is always good. Sometimes you will lose, 2, 3, 4 people right away if you don't kind of start your game perfectly. If you prioritize housing over food, or if you make too many houses right away, that's why I put down these houses, but then I paused a lot of them so I could kind of manage where my people go and what they build when. Takes a little bit of getting used to. You will have a lot of villagers die and things like that right away, just until you learn how to prioritize what is most important. Unfortunately, you have to keep them homeless until they build up their food resources. But I'm sure they would rather be homeless than starving to death. Alright, so it looks like we have a pretty good start going here. We've got some housing, we've got some babies being born, we've got plenty of food, we've got plenty of fuel, we've got tools, we've got clothing. This is pretty much the perfect start to a game, so I'm pretty happy with what we got going on here. So I will cut it here, and we will pick up next time. Thanks for watching.